Sometimes I think about if that piece of metal could talk, what a conversation we'd have. I'd like to know more about its life, just as you're wanting to know more about my life. I'm Shelly Gilmore, and I call myself a scrap metal artist. I do so many things. For the most part, I make and I don't like this phrase at all, but yard art. And I'm really sensitive to that because being a woman in this industry, I think people think the only thing I'm capable of doing is making yard art. But it's one of my most favorite things to do because people enjoy it so much. But I've also made lamps and furniture and handrails and gates and things like that. Half the fun is going out to a farm and trying to tear apart old farm equipment or dig in a pile and discover all the good pieces of scrap metal in that. These are great pieces here. Starting a project and following it through all the way to the end is very much like putting a puzzle together. That's a good spring, and then these are good pieces too, because there's a pair of them in here, just begging and waiting to be something, or almost a pair, close enough pair. I really gravitate towards pairs of things, because if I build any animal, they'll have two shoulders or two ears, so I always like to collect pairs of things. I can't really ever remember not knowing how to weld or use a cutting torch. When I was young, I was just a hopeless tomboy, and my dad worked as asphalt sales, so he traveled a lot. His office was at an asphalt paving plant, and his crew taught me how to use every tool imaginable. That's how I learned to weld as a grade schooler, and I loved every minute of it. When I lost my dad, his hobby was welding. And so his wife said, "What on earth am I going to do with all your dad's equipment?" And I said, "You know what? I know how to use that." So I took it home and carved out a little space in our shop here and just have never looked back. I think every time I light a torch, I get a little silly in my head thinking, look at me. I'm lighting this torch. One time somebody brought me a cupcake with a candle in it for my birthday, and I don't even know what I was thinking, but I lit the candle with the torch. I often wonder with these crazy things that I come up with, whether he would have thought they're crazy or whether he would have really liked the process. I think that we're our own worst critic. I'll take a dozen pieces to a gallery show, for example, and my least favorite piece is the first piece that sells. So don't be so hard on yourself. Somebody else is going to love it because you loved making it.